So I've been around developmental wrestling basically my whole life, and it's super important. I have a ton of respect, and I value it at a high level. So really, I'm here for you guys. So I was going to kind of get into, I guess, Scott told me that Casey had already covered some stuff with the grounding and edge, and that's what I'm going to start with and jump into. Mainly because when I do this, I kind of like to teach from where I'm thinking. I feel like it's important enough for the national team that we should be getting that information out to the grassroots and our elite emerging talent. So, but really, after that, I want to get into Q&A. Like I said, I'm here for you guys. So, anyways, yeah. So the new rules. When these interpretations came out, I think they voted on it on November 25th. They had the meeting in January 5th or something like that. They had the interps, which is not as fast as I would like. We had a competition literally the next day. There's a tournament in Turkey, the Yasudogu. The head official in the world right now is a Turkish guy, so we knew we'd see what it looks like at those events. So we've seen the Yasudogu in January, the Henry DeGlon in January, the two ranking events in February. We've now been to the Continental Championships all over the globe. So we're starting to dial in on what these interps are going to look like and we're going to learn more throughout the summer. Ranking event in July, the age group championships, both continentals and world championships, before we get to the senior world championships. So we continue to learn, and I think two key elements that are super important for me, because I'm a real black and white type thinker, and that does not exist in this position. We all want that. We want a rubber stamp. This is how it's going to be. Casey, tell me. If you tell me, then I can train our athletes, and our athletes are smart, and our RTCs are good, and if you give us something, we can train it, and we'll be good at it. But in this position, that doesn't exist. And once you understand that, we're moving the right direction. The second thing that is super important is understanding how out of bounds is determined in each position. And what do I mean by that? And having Casey already having been here, okay, if we're on our feet, it's my whole foot. But if we're in parterre or we're grounded, which is not technically a term, we use that term, it's kind of slang. It's not in the rules. Grounding is not in the rules. And I think it's being used more and more. Maybe next year it'll be codified type rule. But basically what it means is we're on our knees, we're on the mat, they're parterre neutral. You haven't taken me down where, like, in a traditional sense, Terry takes me down, he's on top trying to gut wrench or lace me. That's parterre, right? This is parterre neutral. No scores happen. In that scenario, the mat is like a cylinder, and it's our pinning points. Okay? So I'm sure he covered that with you guys. It's your pinning point. So essentially here, flip me over, on my shoulders in or out in my head, right? So like in this scenario, okay, this is out of bounds. This is not. This is not. This is not out of bounds. Okay? Now I'm out of bounds. Right? And so here, you know, kind of the sternum is what we look at, just because that's where my shoulder blades are, right? So understanding that is super important. Super important. And then along with that is in parterre, stop.
You can have shot on, yeah. Coach any of these.
All right. I had 2 surgeries, so I'm not supposed to be on my knees much, but I can do this. Okay, so shot. Okay, so he's attacking me. He drives me out of bounds, I'm out. He's out. It's 1 point for him. Now, if it's in motion, we have continuous to where if he finishes the takedown, he's going to be allowed to score, not to score, right? If he goes immediately to it, there's no hesitation. So if it's a 2 point score, I go feet to back, it could be a 4 point score. But same position. Here he's in on leg. Now my chest is on his back. This is different. I'm not out of bounds. This is considered parterre. This is considered parterre. So he can drive through me and we can go out. They might not call a point. And they should. They should. He should get a point because I went out once our pinning points go out. But here I can still wrestle. I can still wrestle. I'm not, we're spending a lot of time. It's going to bear a lot of time for athletes to get used to that tactical difference of having to hold your ground here or understanding where you're at. Yeah. Let's see. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, so understanding this stuff is pretty important. From the feet, I don't think it changed us too much. We've always had a philosophy of wrestling through the edge and let the step out, let the out of bounds be our opponent's problem. Philosophically, I like to think about you got the middle, right? You got the zone over here and this in-between area called a transition, just because we don't have another term for it. But early on in the step-out days, when it was, first implemented the push-out, I was a competitor back then, and I hated the rule. But what I learned is really quickly, athletes adapt really fast. So from 2004 to 2008, when it was first implemented, we were still in 2 out of 3 periods back then. And a step out point accounted for 1.9 points per match. 1.9. Okay, so basically 2 points. After 2008, it dropped to 0.9. Wow. So athletes adjust, right? They adapt very quickly. Very quickly. And so it kind of won me over. This is getting on a different topic, but like when you talk about overtime or criteria, the criteria won me over because athletes adapt. They adapt quick. Figure it out. And what it does is it forces people to wrestle inbound. So if we're here in this area, early on people would die and we go desperation because I start seeing the edge. So I lose my mind, so to speak, and I forget how to wrestle because I'm gonna do something like this and try to shoot him out of bounds. And inevitably, what happens is if I don't exercise discipline right here, he stuffs my head and runs a go behind. Or, he either down blocks and runs a go behind, or he sprawls, I fall on my face, and he runs a go behind and bounds. See, how many times have we've all seen that a million times, right? So from our feet, I want to maintain that kind of thought process and discipline. In this transition area, I want to keep wrestling. Wrestle. Let the edge take care of itself. Our subconscious mind is so powerful. We have this CPU operating in the background. I don't even need to have conscious thought all the time about the edge. Because when I'm here wrestling, and he's sprawling, I have to be mindful of what I need to do. I know where good wrestling is. It's following his hips. I want to get in and up through his hips. And so I want to maintain that stuff. And then if it happens to go out, it goes out. But I still have the opportunity to step and finish, right? I can plant his hips and get my 2. Or what we always talk about is we're gonna get the one, and we're gonna look to upgrade. Can I get my 2 or can I get my 4 going out of bounds? Understanding that referees, officials are pretty liberal, pretty lenient over here. They want the points. They want the points up. So, where I might have to show a little more control here than I do here. Control's a folk style term. It's not freestyle. Freestyle, international wrestling, points of contact, right? So, super important for us to understand. So, if I'm wrestling, you know, and I'm in a neutral scenario here, where it's a single leg, I can still finish. Oh, there's my, I'm gonna plant his knees, I'm gonna get that point of contact, elbow, shoulder, head, knee. I'm gonna get my 2 going out of bounds. Just don't forget how to wrestle here. And what do I mean specifically? I mean, typically it's we get extended. I dive, I wrestle in desperation instead of that technique that all learned since we were 8 years old. So it's just being disciplined down here. If he's sprawling and stuff in my head, I got a post. And yes, I build my knee slide stuff, rebuild my head. Finish, boom, transition. Maybe if I hit it quick, I might need 2 and 2. They want those points over there, right? They want those points. You're helping the referee. If I'm a referee, I want the upgrade, right? I want to get selected for the World Championship. I want to get selected for Europeans or ranking events. Because that's going to give me the opportunity to get selected for the games. The more I can put objective points to keep myself out of trouble, the better I'm going to be. Okay? So we as competitors, as coaches, just we understand that little teeny piece, not to worry about it too much. Give him something new. Help him out. Help him out. Give him something to throw points at. Okay, so in here, head inside, head outside, whatever you're doing offensively, continue to wrestle. Continue to wrestle. Wrestle to the finish. Wrestle to the fundamental. Wrestle to your basics. Knee slides, heads up, hips under our bodies. Am I gonna maybe cut a guy off and take the point if I can get it? Yeah, for sure. But that doesn't mean abandoning good wrestling. And probably the best example is he used Jordan because he was so good at it. He would shoot, and you know he shot the double leg, right? The double leg splash. He was like John Smith. Everybody talks about how many single legs John Smith shot, how many double legs Jordan shot. How many did they score? John Smith's #1 scoring fraction was the 11-inch high crotch. Everybody was afraid of the low single leg. Huh. Just like everybody's afraid of Burrow's double. But most of his double legs finished as single legs. He hit. Right? Might not score the first one, then he attacked again, and then eventually he hit the corner and finished a single leg. Or a lot of times if he's not underneath here, and all he did, and he drives somebody out, right? He drives head up and knee side under before he can put him out of bounds. Okay? That's following a fundamental. He's still doing the right things. The same thing he would have done over here. Super important. Super important. What I see as mistakes is when we start tagging here or another critical time late in the match. I'm a high criteria, it's 5-5. I got 3 1-pointers, he's got 2 2-pointers. So I need to score. And so instead of wrestling over here, I'm trying to push it, shove it, and we get, I start leaning and pushing, and that's not wrestling. So I get wizard kick here, I get the front around and trick faces, and I get brought out of bounds instead of patient aggressive. Patient aggressive in the zone, this is just general tactics anyway. Zone wrestling, geography is my friend here. I just cut him off, and he's trying to circle in, I'm just gonna cut him off. My head's up right now because I'm talking, but I shouldn't have head position. Whenever I'm controlling, and I like to control at the elbows or below. People start doing this, it's from fight power to power, and I can change leverage. If he's the same strength as I am, he won't be able to move. He won't be, he will if I fight this, because that's where he's powerful. So I'm gonna fight down here. So keep head position. Now if he's circling, I'm just gonna cut him off. Maybe there's a chance for me to level change and blast him out. Quick, short, explosive penetration. I'm not gonna reach, I'm not gonna dive. And the longer I keep him in there, give him a chance to make a mistake. Don't force one, or I'm not gonna force myself to make one. Be patient. This is patient aggressive. He circles, he's gonna go out of mouthful, right? Looks like that, we're gonna do the same thing. So, that really, nothing has changed there too much from the neutral position, but it's becoming more important and more significant because of these rules. So, any questions there so far? Good question. Probably, I don't know. I mean, the way that we understand rules, right? Back over here on that, is I'm controlling the center, and I'm being pretty active. He's circling, I would say, you could probably make the argument that he's being passive. He's evading. You know, he's trying to get in the middle. He's not getting that. I'm winning that battle. So right now, it's a really good question. I think it's probably enough subjectivity that it's another one of those things you can't understand. But as the rules exist and as we are educated when we go to technical meetings at ranking events and others, the center of the mat and the athlete whose hips are to the center is strategically more valuable. Yeah, at some point I would say, but you know, it's, if I got a score, I got to, right? You gotta, at some point you gotta go, right? 8 seconds left, I gotta go. But I'm still not gonna reach and dive and run. If I have a chance, maybe I pump fake or get him to hesitate, so I can level change. So that's all I need. That's all I need. I don't need to finish it, I just need to do that. So, understanding that in those situations, beating their head and chest, or my head and chest, which is pretty elementary stuff, but in the firefight, we forget those things. We forget those things. It's fight or flight. So we need to talk about them in practice. Hey, okay, you're gonna wrestle. We do this a lot. We do a lot of criteria drills. Okay, I'm down by a point, or I'm down by a criteria, and there's 30 seconds left. Depending on which side of the, perspective we are on that given day, okay, it's his drill, so he needs to score. Maybe he's done by criteria. Okay, and I'm just trying to circle in. So I would remind him, hey, make sure you level change. Don't be reaching. Take your hips to your movement, right? And so that stuff just becomes more important when we're wrestling in here. So I like to control if it's inside tie, or elbow tie, or wrist, something here, so I can level change, and then just blast through. That's really all I need. That's really all I need. Yeah. How are you wrestling? Defensively? Good question. Got to put the same kind of priority on this transition area and understand how to trade places with somebody. So just the opposite side of it. He's cutting me off, and I can't play this game. I can't circle. If I'm here, I'm still going to wrestle, but it shouldn't start here. In an extreme moment, it might have to, right? Maybe I get up from a flurry and I'm just here. But understanding physics, drop my hips so I can turn corners. That's why sports cars are low and wide. I cannot beat him standing up here, or my chances are less likely. So I want to get my hips down and have head position, and I want to cut to the center fast. I want to cut to the center fast. So a lot of times that means my outside leg will be power, right? Whereas I'm a right leg lead. So typically it's my left leg that has more weight on it. But it depends on where I'm going, which one becomes my outside. And that's the first thing is being able to cut to the middle fast. And when I just go one direction, it might be hard. So sometimes it's change of direction where I step one way and I can move shoulders, head this direct, and then cut back here. So you have to use that. I just have to, maybe by context of the natural, no, man, this guy's really strong. Change direction on that quick. Or I feel the gap the other way. I can't cut this way very hard right now. Here, boom. Hips low and head position. And the longer I'm around this sport, the more I believe and understand that head position is so important that it almost supersedes all other positions. 90% of it, especially on the feet. Especially not so much, a little less in folk style because we don't have exposure. But in freestyle, he beats my head and chest. Defensively, I'm in trouble. He's got leverage. He's gonna run through. I gotta keep my head in the way. So here, so if he's got a head position, the first thing I need to do is reestablish it. And it doesn't happen sequentially. It's not like drop my hips and in your position. They gotta happen together. Here. They happen in unison so that I can trade that place quickly. And then if he's got more of an advantage position, that just aggravates the scenario. Whether it's an inside tie, or wrist, or an underhook, especially with an underhook, obviously. But I don't want to get into underhook defense too much, but if he's got head position on underhook, and we're teaching it in the middle of the mat, I'm not teaching anything different. I'm going to drop my hips, and I'm going to shrug, and I'm going to reestablish head position all in one movement here. Jump really aggressive because you can hurt somebody's elbow here. And if he's really strong, an underhook guy steps into this and digs with his hip. So I thumb block and change direction and pull my elbow inside. As soon as I can beat his arm with my elbow, I can win that battle. And so if I'm here and I'm in danger, it's the same thing. I might have to run a little bit more to buy some mat space, but I'm going to pop, run, and get head position. The other thing I'm doing here is my arm, same idea as I was talking about control. I'm not fighting him up here. This is where it's strong. As I drop my hips and shrug, my elbow gets low on his arm as possible. I want to fight his arm where it's the weakest. And then as I circle two and try to fish out like 2-on-1, I can flank on the thigh and use the ribs to where I can bring it to my own 2-on-1. Or if he's just really strong and I'm not, it's a little bit loose, I can thumb block, change direction, get my elbow inside. So I can do those same things right here. And to what degree do I change directions? It probably depends on how deep I am in the zone. If I'm here, man, I gotta go. That's why we gotta start thinking about that stuff here. I should be thinking about the zone right here. What I should be doing is circle my body. Get back to the middle. Okay.
the new ideas of push out on your knees and being grounded or whatever. What's the drill that you guys are coming thinking about at that point? Because I know you're spinning one way or another the way you're talking. You have a drill that you're working with the athletes now that's important.
Good question. You got a question too?
No, I was gonna have her do push out partner, so you're giving that to down.
I think that's good question. I would mix it up. So what drill am I doing? We're going to mix it up. We're going to put him in a lot of situations. We're going to put him in, he's in on the leg on me, and outside, and inside. I'm on one knee. Probably put maybe the seatbelt wizard situation, which is pretty common and getting more common. All of those are super important, and then we wrestle. Play in it, and that's where like situations become super valuable because in 6 minutes I can get 10 or 15 of those each, as opposed to a 6-minute match. Maybe I get 35. I'm trying to get them out. That's a good question. Chest wrap. I like the chest wrap. I think it's really effective. I mean, you got guys like Jake who are monsters in the chest wrap. But honestly, well, I don't like to keep my athletes in public, but you start to rely on it a little too much. Gotta move his foot. Gotta move his foot. There's maybe 3 or 5 guys in the world that are good enough to hold him accountable, but your likelihood of meeting those people rises the deeper you get into the Olympic Games or the World Championships. You see those guys in the quarterfinals or the semis or the gold medal match. So what I'd like to do from a chest wrap, not to get into a bunch of technique, just a philosophical belief is if he's head outside and I got a sit chest lock, and I feel his hips suck back, I don't need the chest lock. If I can clear my legs and take it, go behind, take it. It's the same 2 points, but it's a lot more decisive. A lot cleaner points. And so that's how I would go with that. And learning, it's just a great skill for our athletes to have, is have the kinesthetic awareness, know where my hips are, and know how to float off a position. Like when I sprawl and I slide away, I don't hold ground, I get ground. My feet go back, my hips go down and in. My hips go down and in. So if he shoots me, I suck him into this, and he goes back like that. And even more critical here. Less critical here. Diving and re-attacking. And I'm here. So this is what I really was going to get into. Offensively, what am I doing here? Well, if I can squeeze here, right, chest wrap, I'm not just squeezing his chest. I'm actually using my elbows like hands. I'm going to push his head forward with my chest as I scoop his elbows with my elbows. So, so this is tight, and I'm squeezing as hard as I can. And I'm going to push and try to get him to slide, but he's going to start moving this way and that way too, right? So I got to cover that. If I can go here, it's different. So that's what I would try to do. That's what I try to do. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be hard. When you wrestle, it's a struggle. If I got a minute, I'd see it through. I wouldn't wrestle in desperation. I wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff until I absolutely have to. More what, I don't know if it's more strategic, tactical than this technical. is if I'm trying to run the go behind here, right? If the guy's being passive, another JB example. Used to drive me nuts. Because referees didn't hold him accountable. But Burroughs he's the consummate threat, right? Everybody does this. Plays this game, and I'm like, I'm freaking stolen. Call him, get him out of there. But this happens, right? Listen, they're not gonna come. We're gonna have to figure this out. How are we gonna do it? And it's frustrating, but there's things that you can do. Some of it was attacking low, and trying to move the guy's head. Nobody in the world can let Jordan do this. Right? You gotta move. Even if he doesn't continue, it forces that person to move because from here, he is leading. Okay? So we're gonna use that idea in the zone. But the obvious risk is that if I start going here, he starts out teaching out. So we're just gonna try to turn him. We're going to try to turn our opponent and wrestle his head to the edge so that we can run our offense, whatever it might be, back to the middle. So like maybe I'm shallow. You know, a lot of people do this kind of an underhook thing. I think it's okay. I like shallow arms. If I go too deep, I have a lot of control, and so does he. And when I want to go somewhere, I can't get out of there quick enough to get where I want to be. So I'm going to go shallow here. And now I can move here. I can move their head, right, whether it's foot hip up, chest rack, or even he's put out oh, here. Stand. You gotta be careful, right? But if I'm sprawling here, I'm still parked there, right? Chest is on his back. I'm not out of bounds. I'm not out of bounds. I'm just going 2 points. Totally out. Okay? So that's
In that same exact situation, when are you going to be out of bounds?
when my pinning points are out. That's where I don't know. Casey used it as an analogy, but think of the mat as like a cylinder, right? And if my pinning points are inbounds, we're still inbounds. I'm in bounds. I'm out. It's not the percentage of my body. It's your pinning points in relation to this cylinder. And on a mat like this, it's confusing because it has this white stripe. But you guys know the difference in it. It's all the way out, off the white.
And that's both wrestlers pinning points?
No. Good question. That's what I forgot to mention when I was the point I lost back there. The scoring and the out of bounds are determined by the defensive man's position, the defensive wrestler's position. So, if he's in on a double leg here, and I go feet to back, he's going to score 4, even though he started on his knees. Because it's determined by where I'm at, defensive person's position. So, by that, here, I'm in bounds. He's technically on offense at the moment until I change it. But even when I change it, I'm still in bounds. He's still in bounds. So,
where you were at in that same position, you're still in position because you parked your position. Can you park, sprawl, and get that head on the mat and actually force it out of bounds?
yeah, that's a great question. I just talked about that this weekend with somebody, and we're seeking some clarification. You guys hear this question? Okay, so same position. He's in on a leg or front chest lock, and can I hard sprawl and get his head to touch? And now he's out of bounds because his head touched out. So this would technically be 1 point score if they deem it definite. Good question.
So this just happened with 57 kilo at the Pan Am Championships with Amanda Martinez and the Mexican girl. Just like this, the Mexican girl was driving us out, and Amanda had enough presence of mind to keep her chest in from going out, and her head, the other girl's head touched out of bounds, and they stopped it and they brought him back to the center, no points, because it was the offensive wrestler that went out of bounds first, so they don't want to penalize the offensive wrestler, but that's not a clear rule. But there's one thought that it should always be a point against Amanda, because she went out, but she didn't really go out. And but in this situation, they called it 0-0. They brought him back in. I thought it was the right call, because I don't think you penalize the Mexican wrestler for taking that and driving that out either. So yeah, so they just called it 0-0. They brought it back in. I thought it was the right call, but that's not clear. Clear as mud.
Yeah, great question. And I think it was, I couldn't remember exactly, and that's why I was talking about, because I was watching the women's tournament and seeing that happen. But as Terry said, it's not cut dry. They called it that way in that moment, and I believe in that philosophically. I'm an offense guy, right? I think if we're going to incentivize action and make our sport fun and creative, we always have to reward offensive stuff. And I have a real hard time with like chest lock double leg, right? And it was, who was it? Was it Cannon Webster, chest lock double leg situation, and he lost. And they scored it 4-2. First they scored it 2-0, and I was like, we got to have some points there. And we challenged it, and then they scored it 4-2 for the other guy, so we lost on both sides, so I should have kept my mouth shut, I guess. But yeah, he shot the double leg, the other guy went straight to his back, we rolled through, we held on to the leg. I thought, gosh, we got to get some points out of that. Not so. The other thing, question, even though he took all the risk, that's not in the rules. There's no reward for the risk taker. Only going out of bounds in an exposure scenario. You can't score defensively out of bounds. Okay, so that's here. So this scenario. Okay, so let's say I'm shooting. I go on offense, or let's have him shoot. He shoots. I hit my knees and I do this kind of thing. Clearly a point, right? Probably a point and a caution of 1 for me fleeing, right? Because it was egregious, obvious, which they would bring me back to the middle. Parterre start. So you got to be aware of that. Step out point now can almost be 2 points if we're egregious. So I saw this a few times at Pan Am's. One that was done, I thought, well and successful. One that was questionable, where a guy went like this, tripoded up. Technically, I'm now in neutral, and my feet are out of bounds, even though I'm trying to circle back in. Okay? So that's, you gotta be careful of that. I did see one where they got into a flurry, and it was kind of like this part of the mat. Go out of bounds, and the wrestler here and the kick does this, and circle all the way back in. Really savvy, really good. We need to be working on those types of things and have that, develop that savviness, that awareness. Move that tone. I tend to focus more on the offensive side, because usually that's where we're losing points as the guys are evading. So if he goes down, I'm working on things like, or thinking about things like this for a team, is what I talk about, moving their head. Okay, so in headlock, for me, it's having my shoulder right on the axis of its shoulders and spine. My shoulder's over that, my pressure's going over. If it's below that, I'm going to get dragged out. So I'm going to be here where I can move it. And I'm going to take him, even if it's the long way, I'm going to take him to where I feel he's weak. I might circle him here, so I can run my gun behind inside. I don't care. I don't have a preference of which direction is better. I just typically say the shorter side is better, right? It's quicker. But I don't really care. If it's going cold, if I gotta go here, maybe I'm really good shot. And I can circle back in. There.
If you're in the front headlock and you're trying to come behind and you go out, like how are you training for that switch when you're still in the front and not just got out of that?
Yeah, I think you've got to understand is, are you bearing my weight? So his question is, how are we training so that I make sure that when we go out of bounds that I score the points? And it's the understanding of, is the bottom person bearing my weight? So maybe it's not technically my shoulder, but I think they're going to call this part there. This, they're not. You know, it's kind of bearing my weight. My chest isn't down on it. So I might slide off here and then start. You know, I went all the way out of bounds, except for this. I came all the way back in, called out, and I finished behind it, and probably going to win it. I think there was there was one instance where we were in that scenario last weekend at Pan Am's, and we only got 1 point out of it. They called it step out. You know, maybe he didn't pass, hips didn't pass far enough behind the shoulder by the time the kid was out or whatever. I would say, by and large, that's the exception and not the rule. They want the points so they're going to score them out. So steering the head one way, and then running our offense to the inside. Another thing that I think goes hand in hand, and not always using the edge, but sometimes giving them the mat so they can develop the skill set and the ability, is just learning how to change directions and use misdirection to create offense. And I'm a right-handed guy, so I always want to go to my left because I'm driving this way. I'm a right-handed high C, right leg lead. I usually want to go this way, but we can learn by using this, and then my hand just rolls. I don't reach way out. My hand just rolls from the chin to the tricep. There's no weight coming off of him. I keep the weight and pressure down, which is the key thing. I'm going to move here and run to the leg. These are going to become increasingly important types of offensive scores. And they already are. They just hide. They hide statistically, even if they don't hide like optically. And what do I mean by that? Is like, if you download all the world championships scoring, those aren't, well, they're becoming more and more a big percentage. 10 years ago, mediocre. But where they become really significant is, where do they happen? They happen between two medal contenders in the quarters or the semis or the finals. And when we're in the finals and this guy shoots, boom, and I score a quick go behind off his number one offense, those are really decisive points. So we need to have in our mind that this is a battle we want to win. If he's on his knees, my opponent's on his knees in front of me, he shoots and I stop him, or, you know, however I get him there, pump fake, snapping down, or whatever it is. A lot of times we feel good and safe. Oh, I stopped his attack, and then he circles back up. I got a world-class high C, and I'm going to get that high C. No. He just put himself in a disadvantage, and I've got to take advantage of it. Run to the leg, not to the waist. We're going to get away with this 90% of the time. The time we don't is where it hurts you the worst. Where I go to the waist, and he sneaks his arm back between me and squares out in the Olympic finals, or the state finals, or the qualifying match, make farther. Those matches are all important. I remember winning a match my second year wrestling in a town called Augusta, Montana, when my brother built my club. Right now, the population of that town is 238 people. So, didn't mean anything to anyone except for me, and it meant a lot to me. And so doing the right thing in a given moment has a powerful impact on your momentum and what you think about yourself and how you pursue things. So little details like this. Running this leg down. Hamstring ankle. Put it down the waist, sure. After my hips meet the shoulder, now I go to the waist. Before my hips meet the shoulder, maybe. Might have to pull one of those and look really good because he's not fighting. But I'm going to use this area to learn and develop those kind of misdirections or movements where there's no consequence. I can fully commit one way or the other or both ways. And then we're going to move it over here. And it's going to tighten it up. It's going to tighten it up. I might not run here but now I might. So we got to put a lot of reps and a lot of time in knowing where I'm at. Just having that kinesthetic awareness, that mat savvy, because I've been here and I can score those points and I know I feel the reaction, I feel a shifting of his weight. There's no price. Short offense, super powerful skill set. If you're great at it, you know, a lot of our folk style stuff in here, I don't mind this stuff, I like it. I just want to be able to go when I can't, when I want to. So maybe real specifically, technically, one of the most misunderstood aspects of front headlocks or short offense is forward pressure. Most of the time, we're always trying to pull. I'm trying to pull and extend it. And I'm not super smart, but if you start pulling me somewhere, my reaction is to pull back. I don't want to go where you're going. You're trying to win this match. So I want to push. And I want to not just push, but I want to load him. I want to throw his weight on his ankles. I want to drive him. If I'm trying to go one direction, and I think a little bit of this is just nuance, like, who are you? I'm short, and maybe a little more short, stocky, and maybe quicker, but I don't have the range to reach an ankle from here. So I want to put a chip over that heel. Now he can't move. He can go here. And when I feel a little bit of resistance, he's like, gosh, I don't like that. He tries to do that. Boom. You're behind him before he realizes where you're going. So that forward pressure. Yep. Even from here. I'm not going this way. I'm going down through his heels. Right here. So then when he tries to hold his ground, he doesn't want to go out. He's going to hit his knees right here. That fraction of a second while he's dropping down, we're behind him. So, a lot of those kind of things in I think developing them, you know, in normal drill scenarios, and then as we start mastering the skill, we move it over here to apply the tactical ramification of, you know, which I said, my overriding theory is give us some mat space. Give us mat space. I certainly do. Go. If I have to go out of bounds, 8 seconds left, and I know I'm going to get it if I go, make sure your chest is on my back. Look at those points and win that match. Yeah. Not super flashy until it translates to get your hand raised. That's going to be really important stuff.
About out of time, Coach. Just want to take a question.
Yeah, any questions or anything on anything, not that or